Hi, everybody. Carolyn here, holistic anxiety coach. On today to talk about the question, are you afraid of change? And I think this is something important to have a look at within ourselves because it's something that can really keep us stuck in our anxiety. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I know I've been there, and there were places that I saw, I guess, red flags in my life or whatever that I kind of just put blinders onto because I guess I was afraid of change. So just a couple of examples would be like my son. I was having a lot of anxiety actually around the fact that he was getting sick all the time, and I have like I developed, like, I already hated, like, always had a thing with germs. Didn't like germs, always kind of a germaphobe. But when I had this child, and this child was literally getting sick with something like every 2 weeks. I mean, so then there'd be the sick for whatever period of time, and then, I mean, he'd have like a week well if we were lucky, right? Between being sick all the time. And it was crazy. And of course, as his primary caretaker, the one that was home with him mostly, I caught a lot of it. And so I knew something wasn't right. And everybody else kept telling me, well, it's just, that's how kids are. They catch everything and they build up their immune system. It'll be fine. But I knew something wasn't right. I knew he slept well. I knew I fed him healthy foods. I mean, I knew all these things were in place, and that the amount that he was getting sick wasn't right. And then he started to like break out as a 6 or 7-year-old with like pimples on his nose and things like this. And I said, this just isn't right. Something is wrong. And I think I was blocking myself from seeing what it was because my son loves milk. And I had a suspicion that it was a dairy allergy because of his stomach aches and the breaking out on the nose, and then just the immune system being so run down. And I think, though, that I didn't even consciously, it took me a long time to even consciously admit it to myself, because I didn't want to have to say to my son, I think we need to try to cut out dairy, because I knew he was going to be very upset. So I was taking it on what his feelings might be, first of all. And then second of all, I was just kind of, I think, sitting in denial because I was afraid of change. I was afraid of, having to figure it out. I was afraid of, it's going to be more challenging for him. And I just probably didn't really want to face it, right? So anyways, I finally came to the point where I said, you know what, I got to face this head on, because this is, affecting him heavily. It's affecting me heavily with my anxiety. And so we did go get testing at the doctor done to confirm. And it did, in fact, show that he was allergic to dairy. And so we took that out, and it really wasn't as big of a deal as it seemed, because there's a lot of great substitutions, and we found something he liked, and so it was all good. And it's not really a huge thing, but it took me so long to get there. And I'm like frustrated with myself. Why did it take you so long? Because you were afraid of change. And so now, though, it's like he never, I mean, since we took out the dairy, he literally, knock on wood, has not been sick one single time. He is just doing amazingly well. Okay, so that's one example. And I know that relates into kind of, I know, the spring clean and what I'm doing. So it's one example that kind of revolves around food, because my son also has other sensitivities that from there we had to figure out. We knew of some before that. There was another one we had to figure out after that. But since then, it's been amazing. And so these things can make so much of a difference. And another thing I wanted to kind of say is anxiety is like, what was the saying that my mom said this morning? I can't remember. But basically, the bottom line is it's like so prevalent in today's world. It hasn't always been that prevalent. And it's not just because we didn't talk about these things. At least I don't believe that. I think it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think there's a lot of reasons that go into that. But I think definitely some of the reasons are just, if we look at the differences in our lives now versus like 50 years ago or so, and I'm just talking about things like what are we eating? What are we putting into our body? 50 years ago, we didn't have all the processed foods, that we were not consuming all this processed food, all this fast food. The chemicals that are in our food supply now, that was not there. We definitely have a more sedentary lifestyle now. We spend less time outside. So it's not that life is so much harder today. I mean, really think about it. In many ways, it's easier, right? We have all this technology that makes our lives easier. The level of wealth across the board has grown. I mean, in America, almost everybody has a roof over their head. Almost everybody has a cell phone. Almost everybody has access to healthy food. Almost everybody even has like access to transportation of some sort that they can do. And that, you know, that's like good. And it wasn't like that if we did not have that level of wealth across the board 50 years ago. Now, someone might feel that they're not wealthy because comparatively, when they look at someone else, they think, I don't have the money. But it's the standard of living has risen across the board. Okay. So that brings me to just back to my point of what we put into our bodies, what we do with our bodies makes a huge difference. So for yourself, think about a time you were taking good care of your body. Okay, you were eating pretty well, you were pretty active. How were you feeling? What were your anxiety levels at that time? And I'd be willing to bet they were at least lower than they are if you're not doing those things to support your body, because I'm telling you what, that mind-body connection is a real thing, and it's been scientifically proven, as I've already gone over in other videos. And mindset work, I'm not discounting mindset work by any means. That's a huge part of it. But that takes more time, more commitment. That's what I go into really deep in my 90-day intensive transformation program. But in the 90-day program, this is what I start with. I start with this baseline, with the basics. And so one of the second session is really where I focus on nutrition. But I don't dive as deep as I do for the spring clean. So this really expands upon it, digs deeper, hits harder, and it's a great starting point to launch yourself to where you want to go. And that's the other thing that I wanted to close with is what you focus on grows. So are you focusing on your anxiety, or are you focusing on your health? Okay, so I challenge you to focus on your health. Choose a new option. Because if we don't choose something different, we're not going to get something different, right? Okay, so that's what I had today. I did put up, for those of you that are seeing this from my business page, how you can join us in our free private Facebook group for those that are having a challenge breaking free from stress and anxiety. And you can see more videos like this and interact with the group, and it's a great place to go. And if you're interested in a free discovery session with me to see where you're getting stuck, to see where we can take you, and to set up a plan for you, I also have that link in the notes. So you all take care, enjoy your day, and bye-bye now.